You're on the phone with your girlfriend, she's upset, she's going off about something that you said.
Hey everyone, it's time to get rational. Today's lesson is all about using a technique called rationalizing the denominator. The process of rationalizing the denominator is used to write an equivalent form of the number without a radical in the denominator. Rationalizing means rewriting the fraction so that its denominator is a rational number. Now, to do this, we're going to use a little technique that involves us multiplying by 1. Now, it's not going to look like 1. Remember that multiplying by 1 can be something like this. I want to multiply the top and the bottom by the denominator. So in example 1, the denominator is the square root of 3. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3 because if I multiply the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, I really get the square root of 9, which we know is equal to 3. So when I multiply two radicals with the same number underneath, I end up with that number. So this becomes 11 root 3 divided by 3. Since 11 and 3 have no common factors, I'm finished. I have rationalized the denominator, and this is fully simplified. Let's look at example number 2. For example number 2, I am again going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 34. Up top, I get 4 times the square root of 34, and on the bottom, I get 34. Since 2 is a factor of both 4 and 34, I'm going to simplify, and my final answer is 2 root 34 over 17. Notice, I only simplify numbers outside of the radical. Alright, how about example number 3? In the denominator, I've got the square root of 45x. Nothing changes. I multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 45x. On the bottom, I'm left with 45x. And on the top, I get 5 times the square root of 45x. 5 and 45 have a common factor of 5. So my final answer is the square root of 45x all over 9x. That's my final answer, fully simplified. Now it's your turn. Try the on your own questions 1, 2, and 3, and then check your answer. For question 1, you should have multiplied the top and the bottom by 2 root 3. Up top you get 6 root 3 divided by, and this is where we need to be careful, this is 4 times, and then the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. So this is really 6 root 3 over 12, which is equal to the square root of 3 all over 2. And there's your final answer. For question number 2, you should have multiplied the top and the bottom by the square root of 47. Up top, you get 47 root 47 all over 47. My 47's cancel, and I'm left with the square root of 47. Last one of the yo-yos, I multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 9x to the 5th, 9x to the 5th, and when it's fully simplified, you should have gotten the square root of 9x to the 5th all over 3x to the 4th. Don't forget about those exponent rules.
That was easy.
Alright, let's move down to talk about some more complex denominators. To rationalize a fraction with a denominator of the form a plus the square root of b, I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate, which would be a minus the square root of b. This is much the same technique that we used when dealing with complex numbers, when we multiplied by the complex conjugate to rationalize the denominator. Very similar here, but we're going to multiply by the conjugate. In an example number 4, it would look like this. I have 2 divided by 3 minus root 5. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 3 plus root 5. Now, watch what happens. To simplify the top, I do 2 times 3, 6, and 2 times root 5, which is 2 root 5. And on the bottom, this is where the magic happens. I multiply the first term and I get 9. I multiply the middle terms and I get 3 root 5 minus 3 root 5. And then I multiply my last terms. Negative the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 gives me negative 5. Notice these middle terms cancel out, so I'm really left with just 2 whole numbers. So to simplify, I get 6 plus 2 root 5 all over 4. Now, since 6, 2, and 4 all have a common factor, I can reduce. The common factor is 2, so my final answer is 3 plus root 5 all over 2. Only if each of the constants shares a factor can I simplify. All right, let's check out the back. Example number 5, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. The square root of 12t minus 8 divided by the square root of 12t minus 8. Again, top and bottom by the same number, which is the conjugate of the denominator. Okay, simplifying up top, I get 16 root 12t minus 128. And then on the bottom, again where the magic happens, I only need to multiply the first and the last terms because those middle terms cancel out from the opposite signs. So I'm left with 12t minus 64. And we'll go ahead and let that be our final answer. How about for example 6? I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5 minus root 12, the conjugate of the denominator. When I simplify, remember I really need to FOIL here, so I'm doing 5 times 5, which is 25, 5 times negative root 12, which is negative 5 root 12. I've got to do the middle term, which is another negative 5 root 12, and then my last term is negative square root of 12 times negative square root of 12, which is positive 12. On the bottom, I'm just left with 25 minus 12. Okay, time to simplify. Up top, I'm left with 25 minus 10 root 12 plus 12 all over 13. And I can take it one step further by combining my like terms up top, and I've got 25 plus 12, which gives me 37 minus 10 root 12 all over 13. Since there are no common factors of 37, 10, and 13, I can call this my final answer. All right, now it's your turn. Try the on your own questions and then check your answer. And by the way, let's skip the first one. We already did that. All right, let's check your answers. For the problem 4 divided by the square root of n minus 6, you should have multiplied the top and the bottom by the square root of n plus 6. And when fully simplified, your final answer should be 4 root n plus 24 all over n minus 36. Last question, you should have multiplied the top and the bottom by 2 minus the square root of 3. And when fully simplified, your final answer should be 13 minus the square root of 4 over 3 all over negative 5. There you have it, folks. Hopefully you're feeling very rational right now. Come to class ready to ask questions.
She doesn't get your humor.